First of all, thank you for coming, Olga.
Thank you, Dr. Joe.
My name is Dr. Joe Vitolo. I'm doing an interview at the Atlanta Pen Show 2019, and I'm joined by Olga
Nunez.
McLeod, yes. Not recently married, so thank you for coming.
Thank you for asking me.
The purpose of these interviews is to try and figure, just get some idea of why people are into fountain pens. Any great stories? I know you have a really particularly great story to share with us. And so first, I'd like to start off by asking you, how'd you get involved with fountain pens?
I first became involved in fountain pens in the 4th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I went to private Catholic school.
My tie okay, by the way?
Yes, you're perfect,
Vanity,
as
vanity.
always.
Yeah.
And we had penmanship class starting in the 4th grade, but you couldn't use a fountain pen until you had achieved a certain level of Palmer method perfection.
With a pencil.
With a pencil.
I love pencils.
Yes, which actually is a very similar feel and texture. It's a kind of gateway to getting used to the fountain pen.
Mm-hmm.
And the sharpening of a pencil is sort of a simple step that sort of prepares you for all the maintenance and tuning things involved with the fountain pen. So I had admired my father's as well, because my father was an accountant by profession and always had a mechanical pencil and a fountain pen in his pocket.
Remember what kind of fountain pen he used? Was it a
He
Waterman?
used Watermans pretty exclusively.
The original Watermans.
Yes, the original Watermans with an S. And so I got my own first fountain pen was a Big Red, the Parker,
Sure.
which for a 9-year-old kid is kind of a big writing instrument, but I'm not sure what happened to it. I don't still have it, but it's on my short list of stuff to get this weekend. If I can find a nice one from the 50s or 60s, I will get one. But so that's how I started.
So Olga, do you when you collect or buy your pens? I'm not going to use the word collection because I'm not quite sure what it means anymore versus accumulation. But anyway, when you go, are you looking for vintage pens, modern pens, or a combination?
A combination. I, for the longest time, only had vintage pens, and I was pretty much in the Waterman and Mont Blanc kind of swim lane. I didn't really venture much outside of that. Then I became obsessed with the Parker Cizelle pattern, and I have a ton of those in sterling silver and almost every nib they made, and
so your collection would focus on that.
Right. But in the last 4 or 5 years, and I have you to thank for this, I've learned a lot about the bespoke pen makers and a lot more about materials that I really had not ventured into before. And so in the last, few years, my collection has gotten a lot more colorful and a lot more modern.
And a lot more.
And a lot more, period.
That's what counts for me, a lot more.
Exactly. I've been here since 9 this morning. Is 1 something now, and I have already bought 6 pens, so that tells you a lot.
You mentioned to me you were trained in the Palmer method of penmanship.
Yes.
Do you still practice that approach to penmanship, or are your other forms at least influenced by that?
Pretty much. It's not perfect Palmer method, but if you look at my normal script handwriting,
you can tell the influences.
You can
there.
definitely see the influence.
I'm hoping that we can have some type of renaissance for handwriting. I know Michael Sellers tried hard with this to promote it, and I don't teach handwriting per se. My thing is copper plate, as you know, or embroidery script, but I'm trying to help promote the hand just because. As I like to say, if people don't know how to write 20 years from now, you don't have any need for fountain pens then.
Right, and also, unless people are interested in writing as, its own art form, they won't invest in these tools.
Right.
So there won't be, an industry for these people to sell into.
Sure.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do in order to cultivate.
This is probably a loaded question, but preferences as far as inks go, if you could choose a few. And nib point size, you into European mediums, Japanese fines.
I'm not into the needle like you are. I like a nib.
She means needle in the best way.
Needle in the best way. The needle point thing is Dr. Joe's swim lane. But no, I have a lot of different types of nibs in my collection. But I would like to say at least a medium for most things, because I want to see the ink color. And unlike you, I use a lot of different inks. I think I have 130 some at this point in my collection. The recent crash, bang. Of the recent brands, there's some really neat things. Colorverse, which I was kind of attracted to because of their whole space naming, genre, which is kind of cool, is actually a really quality ink that I've used in vintage pens and modern pens, and is very easy to clean, has beautiful saturation. I love them. I've slowly started collecting those. But they're, either Mont Blanc inks or Waterman inks or Iroshizuku inks are the most reliable. So those are the ones that dominate my collection, just because I know I can safely put them in anything.
Especially when you have vintage pens.
Exactly,
right?
and not worry that they're going to destroy, a feed or destroy the inside, of a pen that I've eyedroppered. So those are very reliable.
Yeah, most of the modern fountain pen inks, not all, but most of them are acidic in nature. What about? Did we talk about pen points already or no?
No, not really. Well, you asked what nibs, what widths
Yeah.
I prefer. Like I said, kind of, but I have fines all the way up to, stubs, and I have custom ground things. So I like to have different things to play with.
And you also have a certain preference when it comes to the type of plating on some pens, right? What's your favorite kind of plated pen? So if you're looking at a Vermeil or a Vermeil pen,
I got into this rose gold things heavily recently. But no, I have a lot of sterling silver pens, which I love, but there's something about rose gold that's a little bit more subtle and maybe even a little bit more feminine, although I don't think all the rose gold trim pens are feminine looking in particular, especially if they're paired with black or carbon fiber. I think they can be very modern and, really for anyone. But right now, all my friends know if there's some new rose gold thing on the market, they immediately email me or message me. Have you seen this one yet?
Yeah, I know.
There's
I've
a
done it
Nunez
myself,
Black Sands that I haven't seen in person yet, that with rose gold appointments that I'm looking for.
any Grail pens that's still beyond your reach right now? Not financially, just so you can't find, you want to locate, you want to put.
Gosh, well, yeah, around Christmas time, my husband, who's not that into penmanship per se, but is a wonderful penabler and generous dude, was hoping to get me. ASC had their, I think, third edition of their Pavarotti that they did that had rose gold appointments, and I missed out on that one. I think there were only 88 of them. I think
Yeah,
we found one.
yeah.
But I wasn't able to find it, but instead got a beautiful Tommaso Giva in Arco bronze. So I did fine, but it doesn't have the rose gold appointments.
For those of you out there who may not know what ASC is, it stands for the Armando Simoni Club. It's a business that was founded by Emmanuel Catalgarone. I hope I pronounce it. It goes by Manu now, and he purchased most of the remaining stock of the Omas Arco Celluloid rods in both the brown, what I call bronze, and the verde, the green. And so ASC now puts these pens out that are basically odes to, paying respect to the Omas brand. And they're beautiful pens, very well made. And so yes, I have a few of those as well. So I just like the whole idea of this very well made pen. Last question for you is, tell us the story about the Waterman you recently acquired.
Wow.
What started there?
Talk about the grailiest of grails. Well, I think sometimes for certain people and certain things, especially if you're trying to go back to a vintage pen, it'll have an emotional attachment component to why you're looking for it, and this one certainly does. My mother, who had a beautiful desk and had beautiful handwriting and also did artwork and was a pianist, a very gifted artistic person, had a beautiful Waterman 416, which is a relatively rare silver overlay Waterman, and used it until, immediately prior to her death. And it wasn't until the few days after her passing that I realized it was missing. And I can only suspect that a home health care worker took it because she passed away at home. And so she passed away 14 years ago, and it took me 14 years to find one. And I leveraged all of your connections and all of my connections, and I finally found one. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, please. And I'll also post a higher resolution image to this video so you can see it. Just make sure you send me set images.
Sure. This is
What a beauty.
This is a Waterman from about 1905, and it's eyedroppered, and it's ebonite with this sterling silver overlay, and it's rare because it has a Waterman clip, which a lot of the clips were aftermarket. It's also this
That
rounded
rounded top,
top
I've never seen
design,
that
which is not a
before.
flat top, which is very different. And believe it or not, the engraving plaque is blank. So it's almost like this pen has been rattling around for 114 years waiting for me. And now the emotional choice will be, do I engrave it with my mother's initials or mine? But I'm delighted to have it, and I'll treasure
Congratulations,
it.
it's a beauty.
And hers she had brought to the States from Cuba. I was born in Cuba and came
You know
to
if
the
she purchased
States
it
when I was
new?
2.5. Well, no, she was born in 1920.
Oh, okay.
So
well, but
it might have been a hand-me-down. I'm not sure.
I think that the dates on those pens represent patents usually, not
Right.
necessarily dates they were manufactured.
Right.
So it could have very well been purchased new by her.
Yeah, it might have been, but
The
at any
14K
rate,
nib on
this
there?
this isn't hers, but it's exactly like
Yeah, a
hers.
touch of silicone on that would help. Just a
I
tiny
know.
touch.
It's the cap is awfully tight. I think
Sometimes
this
you-
has
no,
been
sorry,
retired
don't
for a
worry
while.
about it.
Well, and I don't want it
No,
red
no.
going everywhere when it comes out because I do have it inked. But anyway, that's
And
for
what
you,
ink is in that pen?
baby. Right now, I think I have Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red
Okay.
here
It
because
should
I.
be Roshizuko Yamabudo.
Well, I have Yamabudo in another
Okay,
one of
I
the
forgive you.
lovelies in my
I
case.
forgive you.
But yeah, I'm delighted to have it, and thanks to Mark Hoover for finding it and remembering me. So you ready to go back and do some more shopping?
Yes, I am, and thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled.
Thank you, guys.
Right on,
More
people.
to come.